Good morning, everybody. My friends in Africa, South Africa, and also in sunny Mauritius. Sandrine, welcome to our webinar. You are currently in Mauritius. Interesting, I mean, your career, you've been in and out of Mauritius. So half of your life has been in Mauritius and the other half has been in Europe, France, and Spain. And you came back to Mauritius a couple of times, and you involved in the tourism sector and hospitality in Mauritius, but also in Madagascar, the bigger island. We're going to talk about Madagascar as well at the end. Sandrine, how are you doing? I mean, obviously there's no more lockdown in Mauritius, but on a personal basis, this lockdown, which lasted for 2.5 months, Mauritius has been open domestically for a month and a half, but it's not open yet to the international travelers. But on your side, how have you coped over the last couple of months?
Well, I think it's a very interesting and challenging times, and I think this lockdown has been a big shock for the tourism industry in general worldwide. But I think also it's a way of rethinking what tourism can be and the way we are traveling and the way we are going to travel also in the future. Because, well, as from now, even though if Europe is more open and the main markets for Mauritius are more open, there's still a lot of domestic tourism happening right now. So this is also going to be an impact, and we're going to talk about that later.
So you've got a great theme for us today, and your title is Mauritius Reinvented, Smart Tourism Island. I was thinking, interesting title. So Mauritius Reinvented, or Tourism Reinvented, or Mauritius and Tourism Reinvented. So we'll talk more about it. You will take us through your presentation for over the next 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll have a couple of questions at the end. Sandrine, it's all up to you. You can start your presentation, and then we'll catch up at the end. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I would like to start first with why people are traveling and where traveling is in our travel needs, the Maslow pyramid. I think it's very interesting to see, and this is also going to be more and more the trend in the future, that we are traveling because we have a desire to become the most that one can be. And I think this is also going to be impacting the way we are going to provide services to our clients. So we would like to have more interesting, authentic experiences and more exclusive. And we want to have quality of service, which is already impacting and reflecting what we are aspiring for. I would also like to go quickly on the future traveler tribes. This is a report from Amadeus that have been defining what the future travelers are going to be in 2030. But I think this date is going to be coming even quicker now with everything that happened this year, because all the consumer trends are accelerating, and obviously the tourism trends are linked to the consumer trends. So we are seeing today that more and more people are looking for more ethical traveling. So here you have the old, I would say, segments like the active senior, the global clans, the cosmopolitan commuters, the global executive, but you also have new tribes today. We call them tribes. Why? Because community is very important, and it's something which is growing and growing much more. And we see it with the social media. You can see it also with the big brands like Apple, Nike, etc., etc. But this is also impacting the tourism industry. And these tribes, when you see them, they are looking for things that are more, I would say, aspirational. So you have simplicity searchers that are looking for more transparency, easygoing of traveling and planning and holiday making. You have the cultural purists which are engaging themselves with a different way of living, and it's also impacting the way they are traveling. You have the social capital seekers that take maximum social reward from their travel. and the online audience is very important. The digital media is it's very important for them. You also have the reward hunters, which are more the luxury travelers. They are really looking for a return on investment in the way they are traveling. The well-being, the self-improvement, their own self-improvement is very important, and they are looking for extraordinary experiences, something that are making a difference. Then you have the obligation meeters. They are business travelers, they are traveling a lot, they don't have a lot of time. So when they're traveling with their family, their friends, they have restricted options, timing, and they are really looking for something special. And then you have the ethical travelers, which are growing and growing much more today. They are looking for a way of traveling which is much more sustainable, more inclusive, and it's one of the targets that Mauritius should look at, because these ones are very important, and they are looking for more impact tourism and impact investment. So when we were talking about emotion, Maslow pyramid, we have to see today that we were talking a lot about experiences in traveling. But today is much more than experiences. It's about experience that are transforming yourself. And we are going through experiential travel to transformative traveling. So today you want to have something which is meaningful, which is value-based, and which is going to have an impact on the way you are, on what you are and what you're looking for. And this is not just, I would say this is not just for tourism, it's also for everything you are buying or consuming. So regarding the travel and hospitality, more in details, I would say the new concepts today, there's no segregation that used to be in the past. Today, travel and hospitality, it's about being more in contact with local. So you have a lot of concepts, especially in cities. We call them hybrid concept, because local and tourists are sharing spaces, meaning that you're sharing restaurants, groceries, shops, but inside hotels. So you have a lot much more new concept today of hotels that are hybrid hotels, and where the venue is more important than just the rooms. So the rooms are part of the hotel, but the common spaces are the one which are sharing locals and tourists. So you have this more inclusivity, which is important for the new communities today, and where you meet like-minded people. Then you have a lot of more also of co-living spaces where, for example, I think Bali is a very good example for that, when you have a lot of digital nomads that are spending 1 month, 2 months, 3 months to work on the project in a very different place, very unique, where they can do also surfing or other activities, but they also work on the project together in the same space. So this is very interesting, and one of the trends also we should look at. Then you have everything which is pop-up. So you have pop-up hotels, pop-up retail. So this is something which is more about short-term development, but which also creates new innovative experiences for destinations. And also we have, when we're talking about inclusivity, we have also to think about that hotels today also are as investment. It's very interesting to see that I'm going, for example, to a place when I'm going every year, and I want to be part of this development, not just for investment purpose, because I like the place. And crowdfunding and impact investment is also something which is developing more and more on small projects. You can have eco lodges, you can have also like a small hotel in the middle of the countryside in Italy. So you have much more today of this kind of small initiatives that are going to also make a difference in the future. And everything which is linked with wellness, digital detox, and immersive transformative experiences, everything of all of these concepts needs to be found in the new concept and projects today. Here, I would like to talk a little bit quickly about the power of storytelling and authenticity. We have also to think that the demand today is very it knows the tourist or the clients or the consumers knows exactly what they want, and they can find the information about your product. So you need to be authentic. You can't lie. You can't do greenwashing when you say that you are a sustainable product. You really need to be sustainable, and it needs to be proven. Otherwise, Instagram post, a Facebook post can destroy your whole reputation and the whole effort that you put in marketing if it's not really true. And about storytelling, it's about creating emotions. Since the cave times, we are posting on walls. This is nothing new here. So we really have to create emotions, because it's why people are traveling, but create emotions on authenticity, which is very important. So the consumer trends that are changing and moving and accelerating today are also impacting, obviously, the hospitality sector. So I think we can't, today when we talk about experience economy, standardization can no longer be the norm. So having brands is good, but you need to be authentic where you are and in the country or in the destination where you are. You need to see a difference between a hotel in Mauritius and a hotel in Maldives, or a hotel in Maldives and a hotel in the Caribbean. And so the client needs to see why they are going to go to this destination. You need to have something which is very linked with the local culture. And focusing on niche market and being genuine is also something very important in the new concept and the new trends of the hospitality industry. Then everything which is digitalized, guest experience, obviously technology here has a big impact on the sector. And that's why also being smart, when we talk about smart tourism destination, it's this part of technology is very important about the experience and the whole easiness of process of traveling. So the technology is an accelerator for business. Everything with these virtual communities and meeting like-minded people while you're traveling is also very important for the sector, and the different products, hotels and other products that are offered for the tourists needs to think about the way they communicate through these communities. The new generations, and we're talking about a lot about millennials, but also the next generation, the Gen Z. They also have other ways of traveling. This is very important to see what they want, why they're going to travel, where they're going to travel, and how. And they don't have the same behavior as their parents or grandparents. So you also need to really think of the way they want to be more close to the locals. They are more closer to nature, and they use a lot of technology. So this is a lot of trends that you need to think about. Sustainability, obviously, today is something that you can't ignore. Ignoring sustainability is putting you out of the competition. Other segments like leisure travelers, people traveling for business and leisure that are traveling and working remote also. When you see also destinations like Barbados today are offering a permit for tourists or anyone that wants to go to Barbados and work there for 1 year remotely. So this is also more long-term tourists that you have to think about. And this is one of the trends also, which is like the digital nomads. So very interesting to look at. And everything which is about the products, you have to adapt your rooms, you have to adapt your hotels, you have to adapt your accommodation, the way you are traveling, what you propose to your guests to the sharing economy and the new trends. And obviously, we're talking here also about services, and service is about people and about talent. So talent management is very important in the way you hire your staff and the way you train them. Then obviously there's about distribution, about online travel agents. There is a big change. There has been a big change in the last 10 years. And this is going to change even more in the future. So we'll see after the lockdown and now what changes are going to be most probably accelerated when you see TUI and you see what happened to big tour operators and travel agencies. There will also be a big change there, and big change also in the way of selling your products. So we are obviously in a big crisis. Everybody knows that, nothing new, but in every crisis there's opportunities for reinvention. So in the case of Mauritius, could be the case of any small island. The case of Mauritius is the questions needs to be today addressed, like what kind of destination do you want to be? What is our carrying capacity? Why do we want to have more tourists? Whom do we want to attract? So all these questions we need to think about. What are the competitors? What are the competitors doing today? And does my destination meet the demand of the new generation of travelers? So all these questions and even others need to be addressed to see where I am today and how I want to position my destination. So there are different ways of doing that. Obviously, you need to use innovation, design thinking methods, create a destination management and marketing organization, rethink the destination tourism and marketing organization, and you need to be a connected small destination. You need to be within the international competition, but on the new trends, not on the old trend. So the main challenges I will say for Mauritius is about today we can separate between hard and soft, but the hard part is about accessibility, which airlines are going to come back, from which countries, because there's a major also change in the airline industry today after the lockdown. So who are the companies that are going to survive this big crisis? So when you're on an island 10,000 kilometers from your main markets, obviously this is a big question. The international competition also with the Caribbean, Asia, Maldives, Indian Ocean. So all of these islands are also doing a lot of things to try to attract tourists again. And a lot of them, like in the Caribbean, their GDP depends like for 70 or 80% on the tourism industry. So obviously they are going to be more aggressive, and they're going to adapt more their products to be able to attract more clients coming from also the Mauritian main markets. And obviously being an island, we're talking about vulnerability. Impact on islands are really severe about climate change, erosions. So what we need to address all these questions. A lot of things there's nothing you can do about erosion, but there's things, some things that you can do about preserving the lagoons and the way you use the resources. And then the other part is about traveling is mainly an emotion. So what are you going to do to make the tourist journey more convenient? And there's a lot of questions that we need to address also. And how can I attract and keep the tourists? How can I have them recommend my destination? And there's also a new trend that is, and it's really going to accelerate today with the post-lockdown in Europe or in the US. It's about plane bashing. A lot of people talking about sustainability are saying that obviously traveling by planes is not sustainable, and the impact you have on the environment is very bad. So this is going also to accelerate, because today people are traveling domestic, whether it's in Europe. So people are traveling by bus, traveling by train. So and they're traveling less by plane for safety reason, but also for price, and also because they can't travel, because in many destinations where they used to go, the frontiers are closed. So all this is also going to have an impact. Why should I do 10,000 kilometers to come to Mauritius? while I can have maybe something closer and I will have less impact on the environment. The other question we should also address: how to be authentic and honest in my communication, and how can I adapt my product to the new demand, as the demand is today more sophisticated. So if we classify the main trends, I would say today you will have the well-being, the green pressure, everything which is linked with emotions, about learning, about engaging, about immersive experiences. But it's also about the supply, and today, what are the products that the destination is offering. And as the demand is more sophisticated, as the demand is changing, as you have different segments today than we used to have 20 years ago, we also have to address today the supply has to adapt to the demand. In the past, you were creating supply and products and the demand was coming, but today is different. So we have to create the supply that the demand is asking for, because the demand is much more sophisticated and is much more informed and is much more powerful. And then everything which is linked with community. It's today we all work and we all live in communities of friends, communities of consuming. It's about co-creation, it's about authenticity, it's about community tourism, it's about inclusive projects. So everything which is linked with community, it's very important. We are talking about sharing economy here. So sharing economy has an impact everywhere, and you can't split locals and tourists. This is the whole, you have the locals and tourists, they want to be together. Tourists doesn't want to be seen as a foreigner. They want to be integrated when they visit a destination. So how all these trends are accelerating the way we are traveling. So we have to reposition Mauritius to respond to the following new trends. Transformational traveling, we're talking about eco-conscious traveler, we're talking about solo traveler, well-being, meet the locals, technology. So all these trends need to be addressed and need to be thought in the way of, does my product adapt to these new trends, and how do I position my destination? I think it's very important also that I'm talking a lot about inclusivity, but your destination, you want to have tourists. Why? Because you want to create value, because you want to create benefit for the locals. You have people, you need to create jobs, you need to create good investment, good return on investment. So all this, it's a mix of having a product which is respectful and sustainable for nature. It's about nature and conservation. It's about authenticity. It's about having an impact on the traveler and having our traveler to become the best ambassador for the destination, to have much more tourists coming later on. And it's about having a viable business, because you want to make money out of this, but you need to make money to have social impact and share benefits, which should be which in many cases, in many destinations, it's still not the case. But today you can't split locals and tourists. You need to work, and the industry need to work together. So the opportunities, we also many times forget that the tourism industry is transversal and it's impacting the whole economy. So you have opportunities of creating great products and great experiences through the whole value chain. So the whole value chain is about the airplanes, it's about the hotels, it's about transportation, it's about the travel organization, it's about food and beverage, it's about everything which makes your holidays a great one. And today, obviously, as the frontiers in Mauritius are closed, this has an impact also on the rest of the value chain, not just on the hotels and restaurants or airlines, but also on the rest of the economy. So many times we forget that it's about also construction, it's about renovation, it's about agriculture. So everything is linked here. I didn't talk about everything which is about agriculture is also very important in terms of products, like ecological products, organic products. This is part of the sustainability, also the destination, which is very important for tourists, but also for locals. So I think we really have to think as a tourism as a holistic development, because it's not just about hotels and transportation and airlines.
Fantastic, Sandrine. That was your last slide. Yeah, great presentation. I've got so many questions, but unfortunately, we'll have to focus on a couple of questions only. We've got another 10 minutes at most. Sandrine, if I mean, every single slide that you've presented, I've actually got questions for these, but I'm going to try to select a couple of slides. Your first slide, yeah, if you can go back to your first slide, which is basically the hierarchy of needs. Yeah.
Yes.
If you look at your first slide and also bundle that with your second slide, which talks about the Future Travelers Tribes 2030. So traditionally, Mauritius, for example, 70% plus of the tourists coming to Mauritius basically come from Europe traditionally. Yeah, and the 25% is South Africa, Africa, India, China, Asia, etc. Now, when you look at the pyramid structure, yeah, hierarchy of needs, it also depends on where you're coming from. For example, yeah, if you're coming from an emerging market versus if you're coming from a developed market,
yes.
Isn't it? Like in Europe, it's an aging population. People don't have kids as much as they do in emerging markets, etc. So I wanted to maybe your experience about what have you seen and what do you see, for example, because emerging markets, potentially, I'm just saying, it's the need about just getting on the plane and traveling because you've never traveled, for example. It's the need about going to Paris and taking photos, for example, and pictures. Yep. So how do you marry those two for Mauritius? Yep. Those sort of emerging markets travelers and travelers from developed markets. Yep. What are your thoughts about those two markets?
I think the emerging markets, I mean, I will say that people that never traveled and they have the opportunity to travel. Obviously, everybody wants to go to Paris and take the Eiffel Tower, or go to the US and go to New York and do some shopping and visit museums and take photos and be in Instagram, etc., etc. But this is the first time traveler, and this is it depends also which emerging market you're talking about, and depends on the cultural background. If you take Chinese, they have a way of traveling, and the way they are, the kind of travel they are looking for. It's much more active. It's much more about consuming, and it's much more about having all the time activities. It's not about sun and beach. So you really have to see what the markets are, what the culture is, the different cultures are looking for, because that's also the beauty of traveling. Is different markets are looking for different segments and different countries or cultures. So emerging markets, I think for Mauritius, it depends if you're talking about China, about India, about Africa, the aspirations are going to be different. And obviously, developed market is not just, we're talking about senior traveler, but it's not just about senior, it's also about families traveling with kids. But the families traveling with kids today, they have other aspirations than the families that used to come 20 years ago in Mauritius or in other islands, because the kids are much more active, the parents are much younger in the way they're traveling, the thing they want to do, maybe they want to do kite surfing with the kids, or what they want to do like more active holidays. So you also have, or maybe they want just to learn how to cook the local Mauritian dishes, or they want to do everything. This is also, but they need to be active, and they need to have a very unique experience with the family also, because this is the time they can spend together. Usually you don't have that much time. Except when you have Absolutely, yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Which brings me to
The next slide, I think it was slide number 4. So it's 2 slides after that one, the next one. So you've broken it down very simplistically, Pierre. If you look at that slide, where do you see, I mean, you've mentioned, for example, ethical travelers as an opportunity for Mauritius, obviously connection with Europe, for example, which is sort of aging population here. So where do you see, if you look at all these that you've segmented here, where do you see opportunities for Mauritius? Can you give us a bit of flavor? Or, you know, do you see opportunities for each one of them, or specifically for 1 or 2? And where do you think Mauritius could position itself?
These different segments that have been organized and split by Amadeus. But obviously for Mauritius, ethical travelers, definitely. Then you have which called the reward hunters, because this is more about luxury traveling. And this one is, I think, one of the one that should be targeted for Mauritius, because it's about luxury traveling. It's about proposing like really unique products and unique services. And I think Mauritius still is a destination of luxury, even though I think there is some improvement to do compared to the last or 15 years ago. But here, Mauritius still have the image, and that's very important, but needs to improve this segment. Then the others, obligation meters, maybe a little bit less, but I was talking about digital nomads. I was talking about what Barbados is doing right now. And since I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, they posted that that if you stay 1 year, you have advantages of going to Barbados and work there from remotely. So this is also something that should be taken into consideration, and considering that a lot of people are experiencing that also of travel and working out of their office.
Can I just ask you on that? Yeah, digital nomads. What's the tangible opportunity for Mauritius? I mean, do you see a product where people would go and stay in hotels, or is that more sort of Airbnb, guest houses and lodges, those kind of things, sort of more informal?
I don't see Airbnb, because Airbnb, when you have digital nomads, usually they stay together. I would say more like if you have a boutique hotel and you can rent it out for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but it's usually kind of co-working spaces. If you take brands like Ovolo, which is based in Hong Kong and Australia, Ovolo brand is more for urban digital nomads. But you also have products that are developing around this concept about having communities, co-working spaces, and then you have also rooms. So it's maybe like a big villa with 10 or 15 rooms. So it's more, I would say, like a boutique hotel kind of product. But then you provide service, but it's also like a big house, and it's like about living together in community. That's today a big trend common with millennials and Gen Z. So that's very interesting if you can attract. But also it's very important to see that when they're traveling this digital nomad, they also use the locals to work with, because if you have interesting projects in the destination where you have really the talented people, Mauritian talented people that can work with the digital nomads coming from US or Europe or etc. So you also create opportunities to meet, and that's what they want. They don't want to be separated. They want to experience with the locals. Whether you go kite surfing or you go partying with the locals and you work with them. So this is very important to create this kind of experiences.
Which is interesting. I mean, you spoke about, and I was going to bring it up as well, you've talked about kite surfing, because that's a community that's grown over the years. I don't know if there was a strategy behind it or it just happened in Mauritius that it evolved, but it's an interesting segment that maybe Mauritius should try to understand, you know, how come it works and what can be done from a digital nomad perspective and replicate something around there. Because digital nomad, it's kind of a sort of, you know, community in a way, if I can put it this way.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. This is a community, and that's why working on communities and working on focusing on niche markets, it's also very interesting. And is focusing on niche market, I think, is very interesting for the destination, and focusing on more long-term travelers. And this is also going to have an impact on the value you create for the destination, and also the expenses that tourists that staying longer are going to make to your destination. So in the end, it's more revenue for the country. Whether focusing on having 1.4 or 2 million tourists, that doesn't make sense if your global revenue for the country is decreasing per tourist. So, and it's also creating a bad impact on your destination, because in terms of resources, in terms of like living with the locals, is creating a lot of tension. I've been living 10 years in Barcelona, and I can tell you about over-tourism. So we're not talking about over-tourism here, but it's about the relationship between the locals and the tourists. So,
which is interesting. You talk about over-tourism.
Yes.
Interesting thing is, I think it was last week or the week before, Amsterdam have reopened, and they are going to move down from 18 million tourists to 12 million. They want to reduce basically and have more quality tourism.
Like Venice also.
Yeah.
And exactly, more quality, because in the end it has a lot of pressure. It's not a pressure, it's a pressure on everything. It's a pressure on the locals, it's a pressure on the destination, and for islands it's a pressure on the environment. It's a pressure on the water supplies, the pressure on the grocery. It's the pressure of everything, because when you're on an island you have to import a lot of things, and it'll also make your destination more expensive.
I mean, if you look at last year, the island finished around sort of 1.4 million tourists last year. But then there's also seasonality that plays in Mauritius, for example, you know, December, which is peak, December, Jan. And then you've also got sort of June-ish as well, which is the summer holidays in Europe, obviously, which goes up. And then depending on when you've got sort of long holiday in South Africa as well, which is an important market. But I mean, do you think that 1.4 million, when you say, you just said something about over-tourism, do you really believe we've reached that stage, or is it like in over-tourism in specific periods? Yeah.
I think we can't talk about over-tourism in Mauritius, but I think we need to have a carrying capacity number being defined, because there's no carrying capacity in every island. You need to define which is the carrying capacity of the destination. So how many tourists can I have? Mauritius has 1.3 million inhabitants, so it's already a very high density in terms of inhabitants. And then how many tourists can I get? More than what I had up to now. So this is very important. I can't answer. This needs to be addressed and needs to be done. There's no carrying capacity in Mauritius with a number that can be given. So considering all the developments, considering what the destination can be, considering the accessibility, because you depend about planes. So you are an island. It's not that you can come by train or by boat or whatever. So this is very important to have a carry capacity study. And as it has been done now in Seychelles, it has been done in many Indian Ocean destinations, but Mauritius, I don't understand why there's no carrying capacity number. That needs to be done today and addressed today to define exactly within what destination, what do I want to be. Carrying capacity should be one of the numbers that helps you take the decision.
So on that sort of, I mean, you've used that word plane bashing, for example, you know, interesting word, which is true. And Samsung is coming up with 6G in the next 5 or 6 years, and they'll be talking about holograms. So we need to prepare ourselves what it means for tourism then. But I want to take you to the next slide. I think it's the slide number 6. You have 2 slides further. The next one. If you look at these concepts, if you can go back, please. Yeah, that's the one. If you look at this concept, I mean, there's so many concepts here. When we think about Mauritius, when a foreigner thinks about Mauritius, I've always met foreigners globally who would say, "Oh, you're from Mauritius? Oh, great! You know, I've been to this 5-star, 4-star resort, and I've stayed there for 7 nights or whatever." So people traditionally think about just, you know, flashy hotels, yeah. Nice beach and sea and etc. and seafood. What concepts? I mean, you know Mauritius so well, yeah, and also obviously you've got a global perspective. You travel in the Indian Ocean islands as well. What concepts do you think could work besides just 5-star hotels? Yeah, what are the concepts that you really think could work potentially?
I think you have very good small brands here in Mauritius that really are using all these trends that I'm talking about meeting with the locals, about being integrated, about having an impact in the tourism development. So you have brands that are really understood that. You have other brands that have more focus on maybe more I will say innovative or more luxury experiences, but the new kind of luxury. So these brands also are really in link with the market. But then you have other hotels or other brands that really need to reinvent themselves because the product or the way they are selling it's maybe not it's maybe accurate for the next 5 to 10 years, but it's not going to work in the future. And right now, with everything which is happening, I would think it needs to accelerate the change because, as I was saying earlier, the competition is tough and it's going to be tougher, especially with destinations that really needs tourism really to survive. Mauritius, we are around 30% of the GDP, something like this, a little bit more, I would say, with the value, if you take the value chain. But when you have a destination which depends on 70 or 80% of tourism industry, so you really need to be they will be super aggressive in the product that they are developing and the way they are selling, but they need to sell also products that people are going to buy into. So we have to think about competition, not locally but globally.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen already price war that's starting already, where people are getting new amazing deals, etc., to travel.
But
so
price war is not going to work because price war is just on the short term. Price war, it's people today. Okay, some of them are going to buy because the price is very cheap. But if you give a bad product when you arrive, and if it's not what the product that people are looking for, or it doesn't make an impact on their holiday, they're not going to come back and they're not going to recommend. So this is a very short-term strategy. You need to think long term, and you need to create the base to have something which is really working in the next 10-15 years. Not something is going to work in the 2-3 years to come because we just want to we need the money right now. I understand the concept. It's very important also to have your product surviving today. But I mean, maybe this is a way to pause and say, okay, but then what? Do I want to have this work on the long term, or do you want to have this product working on the short term?
Absolutely. Which takes me to your another slide. I think it's slide number 10. Yeah, where you talk about main challenges, hard and soft. On the soft side, for example, you talk about storytelling. Also things that we need to do to basically ensure that people would stay beyond 7 days or 9 days. Typically, I think the average number of days is around 9.5.
Yeah.
What do you think can be done tangibly? I mean, if you were the Minister of Tourism, yeah, what would you? And it would be great to have you as Minister of Tourism. Actually, what would you do? Yeah, on that softer side.
I think first of all, I think it's very important that all the stakeholders gather together and decide what they want to sell, what Mauritius needs to be as a destination. What is my differentiator? As a destination, what differentiates me from another island in the Indian Ocean, from another island in the Caribbean or in Asia? What is really what is going to make people travel 10,000 kilometers to come to Mauritius? Does my differentiator that used to be valid 10 to 20 years ago is still valid today? So it's very important to benchmark. It's very important to see what the competition is. Very important to see what the consumers and the perception of the new demand is looking for. Does my product reflect what other people want? I think it's very important to also think globally in terms of Mauritius as an island, not just a tourism destination. you really need to really think like, I'm an island, I'm vulnerable, this is the fact, to climate change. Okay, so if I want people to come here and travel 10,000 kilometers, I need to have a very good product for people to come here. And maybe the way of having people here saying, okay, we are an island, we are far away, but by coming here, you're going to have a positive impact on the destination. Why? Because if you travel, okay, you are going to stay in hotels, you are going to support the economy, you are going to have this incredible experience with locals, because you are going to discover the gâteau piment, or the road, the small villages in Chamarel, or you're going to have an impact on gender equality, you're going to have an impact on maybe participating through your, if you want to redeem your carbon footprint, okay, you will be able to like your carbon footprint can be redeemed in some small local products, whether it's for hotels, whether it's for small accommodation, whether it's for small restaurants, etc., etc. So then, as a tourist, I say, okay, I'm going there because I have a positive impact on the destination, and I'm helping locals to create value. So this is very, me as a tourist, I'm super happy because I'm having a positive impact, and it's transformed my life also because it makes something which is meaningful to me. You see, so maybe the way of seeing tourism and the way of selling the product, on the way of selling the destination or selling Mauritius as a whole, because it's about the economy, it's not just about tourism. So that's why when we talk about smart island destination, it's about a mix of all of this, about not just tourism. It's about having technology, yes, all over the island, having a lot of gadgets and everything which is about technology, but it's much more than that. It's about circular economy. A circular economy today, I mean, you want to recycle, you can't come to a destination where you don't recycle, or when you see bottles everywhere on the beach. I mean, this is basic today.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't have plastic bottle in an island, for example, you know. So tourists are looking into that, and if they take picture and post on Instagram and Facebook, you just destroy your destination. You don't want
absolutely. And what are your views about, for example, packaging Mauritius with Rodrigues?
Yes.
It's an island that we don't talk about, but we should. You know, it's eco-friendly. They've done really well.
I think Rodrigue is really, for me, is really what Mauritius should do. Obviously, Rodrigue is much smaller, but this is also a political decision of having Rodrigue as the locals in Rodrigue. They've decided to have ecotourism developed. So everything which is guest house, small restaurants, all the value chain in Rodrigue is like is in harmony with what they want to and how they want to position themselves. Today, I think there's a big gap between what Mauritius is and what Rodrigue is. Rodrigue is like the small gel of Mauritius, and what ecotourists or ethical travelers are looking for. So obviously, Rodrigue can't take. It's not competition to Mauritius, but it could be if it was a bigger island. So I think Mauritius should look maybe a little more into Rodrigue. I know it's the same country, but should look into the best practices of what Rodrigue is doing. Even though if it's smaller, you can still do many clusters in Mauritius. You can still do and replicate this project.
Totally agree. Sandrine, I'm conscious of time. We've gone beyond the time that we were supposed to, but I've got so many other questions. We could come back potentially next time, a couple of months from now, with another presentation as Mauritius open up. Just one question around, you've been doing quite a lot of work in Madagascar.
Yes.
Summarize, what are the opportunities there?
Wow, Madagascar, it's
Too
a
many,
very,
too many opportunities, is it?
yeah, there's so many opportunities. I think Madagascar is, first of all, it's a massive island with a lot of beautiful opportunities in terms of tourism development. I've been working there like for more than 6 years now in different hospitality and tourism projects. There is a lot of opportunities that have been identified with the government and the local investors that are really willing to develop tourism and whether it's in more, I will say, a beach area or resort area, but also Madagascar is about ecotourism. Okay, so eco lodges, and there's a lot of opportunities also within the park and next to the national parks in Madagascar. So this is a destination which has a lot of potential. Nature, I think Madagascar could become the Costa Rica of the Indian Ocean, because this is about really something different. When you travel through Madagascar, you know you're in Madagascar. You can't find this landscape anywhere on the planet. So it makes it exclusive, really exclusive to everyone. So obviously it's more about small projects. It's not about big resorts of 300 or 500 rooms, because the destination can't sustain that at this stage. And I don't think it's going to be the future either of the tourism development. So, but obviously, the whole island, the Indian Ocean island, should work together to recreate a product like the Caribbean did. They are today, because Caribbean, they have created a product. Each island, they have a specificity. So you can do the same and work together also in the Indian Ocean.
Great, Sandrine, thanks a lot for your time. Great presentation. Like I said, I still have quite a number of questions, but we've run out of time. I hope that, I mean, you've mentioned about stakeholders getting together, which includes the Ministry of Tourism and the private stakeholders, and I hope that this is being done, that this is going to be done, and also more importantly is people like yourselves to be involved, to bring in sort of fresh ideas, basically, to the strategic sort of planning of the tourism sector for Mauritius, instead of getting the same old. Sandrine, great to have you.
Thank you.
Your last parting words. You positive about, I mean, Mauritius is going to open up, I think, in September, potentially.
Yes.
So your last parting words, tourism redefined or Mauritius redefined, or both, Mauritius and tourism redefined?
I think there will be phases. So the first phase is going to be opening on 1st of September with the actual product, because you can't change from one month to the other. It's obviously you need to create really a real strategy with all the stakeholders. That's what we were saying earlier. And but yes, this is opportunity to redefine, because I think it's going to be hard. The next year is going to be tough. And probably in the next year and a half. We don't know, because just following all the international trends, you don't know, nobody knows. Today is changing every week, every 2 weeks, every month. So, but I think that's a great opportunity to really rethink and phase the changes in the strategic plan, which has to be sustainable for the destination, obviously, for Mauritius.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Sandrine, and I hope that you've got your contact details here. So anyone who needs your good services in terms of strategic advice in the tourism sector, and I hope that the government really takes you on board, or at least gives you a call, and for you to refresh your ideas, basically. Thanks, Sandrine, and keep well, and let's stay in touch, and hope to have you back a couple of months from now. Yeah.
Okay.
And we might be talking about Madagascar. a bit more. Yeah. Take care.
Okay, with pleasure.
Thank you, Sandrine. And
Thank
to all
you.
the viewers, thanks a lot for watching. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you to everyone.